The galaxy had long since forgotten Earth. It wasn't that humans had vanished, they had simply never been known. By the time the Dravari coalition mapped the edge of the Orion Arm, Earth was a dust mote tucked in the shadows of unremarkable stars. The coalition catalogued the system, marked it as biologically unstable, and moved on. Until something happened. A distress signal had pulsed from a mining colony on the planet Saraxis 9. Pirates, some rogue Gorek mercenaries, had laid siege to the colony. Not unusual. Petty warlords sprouted up often in the coalition's neglected sectors. A few ships would be dispatched, a cleanup, another footnote, but the message attached to the emergency ping made Admiral Corris of the Dravari Navy stop mid-sentence during his briefing. "This is Earthship Dauntless. Standing by for assistance request confirmation. Hostile forces neutralized." Earthship? There was no Earth. No recognized planet by that name in the Coalition's stellar charts. The words were spoken in fluent Galcom standard, but the accent, clipped, harsh, almost angry, was unfamiliar. The Admiral's command center grew still as the footage came in. It started with a wide aerial view of Saraxis 9. Flames licked across the mining outposts, defense turrets blown apart. Pirate gunships hovered like vultures. Then it shifted. Shaky, unsteady footage from a ground drone, recording the moment a dark shadow blotted out the sky. It wasn't a coalition ship, it was larger, bulkier, covered in slabs of armor that seemed to absorb light itself. It didn't shimmer with grace or precision like Dravari cruisers. It loomed like a predator dragged from some ancient void, and it moved with terrifying speed. The pirate ships didn't stand a chance. The unknown vessel deployed what looked like a kinetic rail cannon from its underbelly, an outdated, barbaric weapon in the eyes of the coalition, and in the space of 5 seconds, 6 pirate vessels exploded into spirals of fire. No warning, no broadcasted threat, just instant obliteration. Admiral Corris leaned forward, eyes narrowing at the emblem on the warship's side. Hair-painted symbol, worn and partially scratched away, a blue planet wrapped in olive branches. Below it, UNSF, Dauntless. "Where did this ship come from?" he asked quietly. No one had an answer. A week later, the Dauntless entered Coalition space. Not stealthily. Not shy. It arrived at the Altheran relay gate, casually broadcasting a signal on all known frequencies. "This is the United Nations Space Fleet vessel Dauntless, requesting diplomatic contact. We come from Earth. We are here." The Coalition's High Assembly nearly choked on their arrogance. Earth? The Earth? Some backwater system nobody even remembered existed. Worse, the humans hadn't sent ambassadors. They had sent a warship. Commander Helena Rourke stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, watching the swirling gate horizon with practiced calm. Her face was hard. Scars on her cheek told stories she didn't speak aloud. The uniform she wore was ancient by design, a symbol of a government long believed dead. But humanity hadn't died. It had evolved, in exile. Hundreds of years ago, Earth had suffered its own apocalypse. Climate collapse, AI rebellions, and civil wars nearly tore the planet apart. The survivors didn't beg for help. They didn't know how. Instead, they built, they united, and eventually, they left. What the rest of the galaxy forgot, humanity never did. The stars had always belonged to them. The Dravari Assembly voted, against reason, against protocol, against tradition. They would allow the humans one meeting, one diplomatic session aboard the central station of Velex Prime, under heavy guard, with no weapons, no ships near orbit. The Dauntless responded with a transmission that was both chilling and clear. "Understood. But be advised, we do not enter negotiations unarmed, ever." On the day of the meeting, Commander Rourke stepped off her dropship and onto the marble floors of Velex Prime's Grand Hall. She wore no helmet, no visible armor, but she walked like she didn't fear death. 2 Marines followed behind her, silent and unreadable. The Dravari delegation waited, cold and expectant. Corris stood at the center, posture regal. "You speak for your species?" he asked. Rourke's voice cut like steel. "I speak for Earth." The tension in the room crackled. "You came to our space with a warship. I came prepared, Corris scowled. Your people, your Earth, do not exist in any record. What gives you the right to disrupt Coalition jurisdiction? Rourke smiled then. Not kindly. We didn't come here for your permission. We came to see what kind of galaxy this is. And what have you decided? Her smile faded. One that's gotten too comfortable with thinking humans were never coming. That night, the Dauntless moved closer to orbit. Coalition sensors scrambled to keep up. The ship wasn't just big, it was alive. Its AI was advanced, its hull armor reactive, and its weapons primitive yet devastating. The War Council met in a panic, because in every simulation they ran, every attack pattern they modeled, the Dauntless won. One ship, one human vessel, versus fleets, and it won, every time. That was just the beginning. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, and the galaxy had no idea what it had awakened. The Velex Prime Council chambers remained quiet, long after the humans left. No one wanted to speak first. It wasn't just the way the human commander had stared them down, or how she had left without bowing, saluting, or even acknowledging protocol. It was the fact that she could afford to do that, and no one stopped her. The Dauntless was a warning, and it was parked just outside their capital. Admiral Corris was furious. Not just at the humans, but at his own people. Every senator and military leader in the room had felt it, that raw, primal instinct their ancestors buried under centuries of refinement. Fear. The humans had made them feel fear. I want a full genetic breakdown on their physiology, Corris snapped. Psychology, military structure, AI architecture, everything. But sir, till we barely have their data, a junior officer murmured. Then get it, he barked. Hack, bribe, infiltrate, I don't care. Find out what we're dealing with. Before that ship sends more. Because one thing was already clear, they weren't the only one. The Dauntless was too old. Scratched paint, patched hull. That wasn't Earth's first expedition, that was their scout. Meanwhile, Commander Helena Rourke sat inside the command chamber of her ship, watching the Coalition scramble. She could feel their panic, these pampered species in gold-plated uniforms, so used to peace that war had become a page in history books. But humanity hadn't had peace, not for a long time. Report, she said. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Adamu Voss, stepped forward. He was tall, sharp-eyed, with a voice as calm as a dead sea. They've moved 2 fleets into neighboring systems. Their scans are focused on our propulsion drives, but they still don't understand our engine tech. Our stealth layering is holding. They haven't located the Resolute. Helena nodded. Good, the Resolute was a second human ship, larger, heavily armed, hidden behind the gravity well of a red dwarf 2 jumps away. Let the Coalition focus on the Dauntless. Let them think they were dealing with a single vessel. They didn't know about the human fleet waiting behind old stars and dead moons. Not yet. On the other side of the station, something strange happened. A young Coalition xenobiologist named Calrix Day had done what no one else had thought to do. Talk to a human, not the commander. Not the soldiers, just a crew engineer. A man called Levi Chen, assigned to minor maintenance on the docking arm. Levi was relaxed, leaned against a bulkhead, chewing some kind of synthetic gum that smelled faintly of cinnamon and burnt ozone. He didn't look like a galactic threat. So you're all military? Calrix asked, curious. Levi smirked. Nah, I'm just a tech. I fix cooling coils and cuss at broken wires. But you're trained. Your posture, your coordination, it's the military grade. Levi's smile faded a little. We all got trained. Earth doesn't raise civilians anymore, not like you think. Calrix blinked. Why? Because when your world burns and no one comes to help, you stop pretending peace is a default setting. There it was again, that brutal honesty. No games, no pride, just the kind of truth that made alien diplomats nervous. Do you hate us? Calrix asked softly. Levi looked at him for a long moment, then said, No, we don't hate you. We pity you. Inside the High Assembly, arguments broke out. Some wanted to offer the humans territory, to appease them. Others demanded retaliation, show of force, remind Earth of its place. But that was the problem. No one knew Earth's place anymore, and every day the Dauntless hovered above their station was a day closer to the balance tipping. Then came the encrypted Message from deep space. Unauthorized, untraceable. Human vessels detected in the Zakari expanse. Unknown quantity. Minimal emission. Pattern suggests coordinated fleet movement. The Admiral went pale. So it was true. The Dauntless wasn't alone. Commander Rourke watched the data come in. They'd been found, no surprise. The Coalition was soft, but they weren't stupid. The moment Earth's second fleet pinged on their long-range sensors, it was going to cause chaos. Time to accelerate? Voss asked. Not yet, she replied. Let them stew. But when they find the Vigilant, they won't, she said. The Vigilant is cloaked under K-class solar radiation. If they get close enough to see her, they'll already be too close to warn anyone. She turned to the crew. Her voice lowered. Let them feel surrounded. Let them fear the dark. And in the silence of space, far from Earth, far from any human settlement, the galaxy learned something humans had always known. Fear is the first step to control. Velix Prime entered emergency lockdown. Coalition protocol classified it as Tier 4 response, potential galactic hostility. That hadn't happened in 2 centuries, not since the Fenari Plague or the Iron Core AI uprising, but this wasn't a virus or rogue code. This was a species, a forgotten one, and it was waking up angry. Admiral Corris stood in front of the Stellar Security Council, eyes burning. They lied to us. They came under the banner of diplomacy. But their second fleet's movement is clearly an invasion pattern. Senator Rallin hissed, "We don't even know their numbers." That's the point, Corris snapped. Every time we get close to a clear signature, they vanish. That's not just advanced tech. That's practice stealth. They've done this before. What do you propose? Corris clenched his jaw. Strike first. The chamber exploded with protest. Dozens of species, blue-skinned, multi-eyed, tentacled, even crystalline, all raising objections. But underneath their voices was a single, unspoken fear. What if Corris was right? What if the humans weren't here to join the galaxy? What if they were here to replace it? Back aboard the Dauntless, Commander Rourke was calm, almost cold. Voss handed her the latest scans. They're deploying ships to the outer moons, Class 7 dreadnoughts. That's 24 antimatter torpedo banks per vessel. Rourke looked over the data like it was a grocery list. They won't fire first, she said. How do you know? Because they're still trying to figure out if we're bluffing. They don't want to start a war they can't finish, Voss frowned. And if they decide to finish it anyway? Rourke's eyes flicked up. Then we show them what Earth left behind. 2 systems over, in a dead zone between pulsars. The Resolute uncloaked for the first time. Massive, obsidian black. Its frame bristled with point defense turrets and particle lances. But the real horror wasn't its firepower. It was the cargo. Inside its hull were over 100 smaller craft. Tactical swarm units, human-piloted, AI-guided, built for asymmetrical warfare, the kind that never left survivors. The Resolute didn't send a transmission. It just waited. Calrix Day, the xenobiologist, couldn't sleep. He stared out the viewport of the station's science wing, watching the Dauntless hover silently in orbit. Not moving, not responding, just watching. He hadn't seen Levi Chen since their conversation. Security claimed the human crew was restricted to their ship. But something bothered him. Levi hadn't seemed like a soldier, more like a survivor, someone shaped by struggle, not pride. What kind of world created people like that? And what kind of rage did it take to send your first contact ship as a warship? The answer came the next morning. The Dauntless broadcast. Single message to all frequencies. No encryption, no trickery, just words. This is Earth. You didn't answer when we called for help. You watched us burn. Now we've come not to beg, but to decide if this galaxy is worth saving. The room froze. The Coalition news feeds lost their minds. Worth saving. It was a threat. A philosophical one, but still a threat. Humanity had framed the entire galactic community as something to be evaluated, and they were holding the trigger while asking the question. Velix Prime tried to spin it. Coalition media labeled the message as posturing. Diplomats rushed to re-engage peacefully. Admirals tried to decode Earth's military hierarchy, but it was already too late. The Vigilant arrived. It dropped out of warp on the far edge of the system. Coalition sensors screamed warnings. Its stealth had been perfect until the second it decloaked, and it did not come alone. 8 human warships emerged behind it. No formation. No fanfare, just silence. They didn't even speak. They just waited. Rourke received the ping. A quiet note on her console. Fleet in position. Her crew didn't cheer. They didn't smile. They'd been trained for this moment since the age of 12. Every one of them had grown up in bunkers, arc cities, orbital colonies that barely held together. Earth's gravity was a memory. Its pain was law. "Ready the fleet," she said softly. Voss hesitated. "We're going loud?" Rourke nodded. They made their choice the day they watched our planet die, and for the first time in centuries, Earth prepared to wage war not for survival, but for justice. The Coalition fleet shimmered into view. Over the gas giant Orvex 3, hundreds of ships, all shapes and sizes, aligned like the petals of a blooming mechanical flower. It was supposed to be a show of unity. Dale's statement to Earth that the galaxy was not intimidated, but it was a bluff. Behind the scenes, captains whispered doubts. AI systems flagged Earth's technology as unreadable. Generals cross-checked scenarios over and over again, and they kept losing. And now, with 9 human warships in system, the bluff was collapsing. Hard. Inside the Dauntless, Commander Rourke paced the bridge slowly. No orders had come from Earth. None were needed. Humanity had long ago stopped waiting for approval from governments or councils. Out here, decisions were made by those with power, and power was something Earth had perfected. "They're deploying forward ships," Voss said. 50 cruisers, standard plasma tech, shielded, Rourke nodded. "Open a channel, all ships, I want everyone to hear this." A moment passed. Then her voice echoed across every Coalition fleet, every station, every corner of this sector. "Came looking for allies. What we found were spectators. You watched our species starve, burn, fight each other like animals, and when we stood again, you still turned away. Now we are what you made us. If you fire a single shot at a human vessel, know this. We will not stop at your fleet. We will not stop at your borders. We will burn your archives, erase your flags, and we will rewrite history with your silence. You want peace? Earn it. You want mercy? Prove you deserve it. This is Earth." There was silence, a long, bitter, soul-gripping silence. Then Admiral Corris made the biggest mistake of his career. He ordered the first strike, one missile launched from a Dravari flagship, screaming through space toward the Dauntless. Every sensor watched it. Every ship tracked it. It hit. Flames and fire erupted along the Dauntless's starboard flank. The galaxy held its breath. But when the smoke cleared, the ship was still there, not even a dent. Coalition tech had never seen adaptive kinetic shielding before. Rourke turned to Voss. "Target the flagship." "Confirm lethal?" She didn't blink. "Confirm extinction." In under 5 seconds, the Dauntless launched a single spear. It wasn't a missile. It wasn't even guided. It was a 30-ton tungsten rod accelerated at a fraction below light speed. No explosion. No sound. Just a line. A beautiful, horrifying line of heat and force. The Dravari flagship vanished. Nothing left. No debris. Just absence. Every other Coalition ship froze. Not out of orders. Out of something older. Terror. On the outer ring, the Resolute decloaked fully now. The swarm ships inside launched in perfect silence, each one equipped for surgical sabotage. They didn't go after capital ships. They went after communication hubs, supply freighters, command relays. The Coalition wasn't fighting an enemy. They were being dissected. Calrix Day watched from Velex Prime's observatory, trembling. He couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Because even though he was light years away from the battle, he could see the message Earth had sent. The galaxy thought humanity was savage. They were wrong. Humanity was trained, forged, focused. Every weapon had a purpose. Every strike told a story. This wasn't revenge, it was punishment. Admiral Corris tried to rally the fleets, tried to send commands, but half the relay stations were already dead. And then his ship shook, not from an explosion, from a signal. Human code. Ancient Earth tech, pulsing into their systems. The words that appeared on his main screen were seared into his memory forever. You fired first. Now we finish it. From every human ship, the engines ignited. No more warnings. No more speeches. They moved fast, like ghosts slipping between dimensions. One by one, the Coalition's most powerful vessels blinked out of existence, too fast to track, too brutal to counter. They'd brought shields. Earth brought finality. And in that hour, as the Coalition fleets crumbled and systems fell into darkness, the galaxy understood something it never had before. Humans didn't need permission to be powerful. They just needed a reason, and they'd just been given one. Velix Prime was dark. Every major system had failed. Power was limited to emergency lights, communications jammed, security networks overwritten by something no one could trace, except Calric's Day. He sat in his lab, the only terminal still working, because he'd kept it off the grid. And even through the chaos, through the sirens and tremors, one message looped silently across his screen. We came in silence. You answered with fire. So now we will speak in ash. He whispered to himself, trembling. Gods help us. But Earth didn't believe in gods anymore. Above the planet, the Dauntless hovered alone. Every other human ship had disappeared from visible range, tucked behind planetary shadows or cloaked within sensor-def zones. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. Admiral Corris was gone, his fleet vaporized. The Coalition's best minds had miscalculated not just Earth's tech, but Earth's resolve. And now, the surviving members of the High Assembly stood in the main chamber, faces pale, robes torn, voices hoarse from panic. No one had a plan, until the chamber doors opened, and Commander Helena Rourke walked in, alone. No guards. No armor, just her. The guards didn't stop her, no one did. She stepped forward and looked every senator in the eye. Is there anyone still alive who speaks for this council? She asked, her voice echoing like a blade. No one answered. So she continued. We could destroy this station. We could flatten this world. We could render every star map you've built irrelevant. She let that sink in. But we won't. The silence was louder than before. Not because you deserve mercy, she said, walking closer to the central podium. You don't. You watched us suffer. You turned your backs. You labeled Earth unstable and moved on. You let generations die just so you could keep your hands clean. A senator collapsed into a chair, shaking. But we're not monsters. We're not here to conquer. She raised her head high. We're here to take back our place. The terms were delivered that evening. Earth would not rule the galaxy, but it would no longer beg for a seat at the table. Coalition sectors were to open their archives, restore all historical references to Earth, and relinquish control over 6 key star systems, rich in fuel, minerals, and hyperspace nodes. Humanity didn't want land, it wanted leverage, and it got it. Later, on the Dauntless Bridge, Voss stared out at the stars. We really did it. No, Rourke said, we just started. He turned to her. Think they'll ever come after us again? Her eyes narrowed, cold and sharp. Not once they understand. We're not like them. He tilted his head. How so? She stepped closer to the viewport, watching Velix Prime shrink into the void. They were born into peace, she said quietly. We were born into fire, and fire never forgets. Back on Velix Prime, Calric's Day opened a hidden channel, broadcasting the footage he'd taken, of Levi, of the Dauntless, of Rourke's final words in the council hall, and he attached one sentence in every known language. They're not here to destroy us, but if we make them, they won't stop until we're gone. The message spread across star systems faster than any weapon. It wasn't propaganda, it was a warning. In the weeks that followed, rumors spread, of more human ships, of colonies appearing on dead planets, of Earth offering technology in exchange for silence or allegiance. The galaxy was shifting. Not because humans demanded it, because everyone else realized it was too late to stop it. And somewhere, far beyond the edges of Coalition space, a final message arrived at an abandoned relay station, decades old, half buried in asteroid dust. Message written in ancient Earth code. It said only this: Phase 1 complete. Phase 2. Begin the awakening. The humans weren't finished. They were just getting started.